Would anybody, real quick, like to recap what the party's goals are eventually?
We be going after ribs, yo.
Ribs. You're gonna find the best rib shack in Dunfoss?
Yeah.
We're gonna barbecue some ribs.
We're going after crazy necromancer. Yeah. Necromancer in-boss is his lieutenants, basically.
Yep. Okay. We're either trying to win them over or kill them.
I think we're going after a win-over proposition first this evening.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've got an evil necromancer sword, so we could technically do both.
I don't know. I mean, I guess technically we do have an evil necromancer sword, but I don't think we want to touch that one.
No, the evil necromancer sword was that. I thought we gave that to Daniel, so he could.
Yeah, he's gonna deal with that.
Explode it.
Did he actually remove it from the hut? I can't remember.
Well, Daniel has it in his personal inventory now, so it was handed over to him last session. He's keeping it bundled up. He's not going to know what to do with it until he convenes with Bahamut on the subject. And before that, he has agreed to help see this necromancer situation dealt with.
I just couldn't remember if he had actually taken it or was planning to take it like after the campaign.
Now, are he and Fred currently on their and the stable guy currently on their way to Zazak? Is that my memory? Is my memory of that correct?
Where's Razak? What's that?
It's under those
the mountain
white ships.
Yeah, they went and returned because in the time it took for them to go and return, you guys did a bunch of stuff with the hut.
Okay.
That's right, and Zook got a hut.
Oh, I need to... Hold on 1 second.
I see it.
Yeah, that's several weeks of travel from you guys are. I guess we could move... I thought I had moved these, but I guess I didn't on this table.
What?
You need a hut standee so we can just fly it around.
That's not a bad idea.
Let me get another notepad open here. I'd like to have a blank notepad open for just session notes. Hopefully I'll be able to save this one.
How fast can the hut move?
Zook.
Yes.
I'm about to give you a task. You will have 60 seconds to complete this task.
God,
Any other player that speaks during this 60 seconds, I will deduct 5 seconds from your clock.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
In 60 seconds, I want you to name as many rooms in Baba Yaga's hut as you remember. Get ready, go.
The Candy Forest, the terrible skeleton hallway, the oh my god, the cat's room, the garden with the crazy hands, the terrible guest rooms, the terrible armor room, the terrible observatory, the well with the acid, the kitchen with the dragon fire, the room with the cyclops, the actual control room, the several rooms in the traps with the mirrors, the her bedroom. What haven't I mentioned yet? The room with the stairwells that was relatively safe. What else was there? Shit. I'm completely drawing a blank. Oh, taxidermy room with the zombie animals, and the room with the there's a clock room, and then there's another trap room that has a bunch of grinding gears.
Stop.
Okay.
That was 60 seconds.
Okay.
That was pretty good. I'd have you on my team.
That was pretty good.
Is that to determine my actual knowledge of the hut?
That was
no, it's just because Brick Road is a jerk.
Yeah, just, you know, wait, we've been playing 32 sessions. That was the lightning round.
Okay. Sweet. Do I get a level for that?
While you guys were dealing with the hut, which, as I recall, involved Zook acclimating to moving it around.
Yeah.
It involved actually going through and inventorying every room and their contents, and carefully disarming or subverting the various traps that you hadn't dealt with yet. So the big question now is, what did you all do with the immense amount of treasure inside Baba Yaga's hut?
I think the actual coin we mostly left be for now. Like, because we figured it's still pretty safe in the hut, even with the traps disarmed.
Okay.
I don't know. Does that sound right, guys?
Yeah, I mean, it's ours no matter where it is.
I mean, the only reason I would say to start moving it would be to start building all the stuff we wanted in the in our barony.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should only take it out when we need to, because the hut is more protected than anything else that we have.
Now, did we divvy up all of the magical items, or was that all just party loot at this point?
There weren't a whole lot of magical items.
Did anyone want the Ring of Jumping?
No one wanted that.
That's that. Yeah, I guess that's a no.
Does anyone want a Glove of Missile Snare?
Does that give Orphan a bonus to her natural ability? Or?
No, her natural ability is already better than it.
Oh.
How does the Glove of Missile Snaring work?
It's just reduce arrow damage. It's my note says arrow damage. I don't know if it's specific.
What stat does it work off of?
1 plus Dex.
Okay, no thanks.
1d10 plus Dex, and keep the arrow up.
I can't use it because all of my weapons are two-handed.
Tarin already has 4 attuned magical items.
Wait, how do you have 4?
Well, I'm not attuned to one of them. But
okay.
Nobody else wants the cloak. Does anyone else want the cloak that lets you go into the ethereal realm?
No.
I didn't think so. Does anyone else want a cursed shield? I didn't think so.
So if no one else is going to take it, Zook will take the Ring of Jumping. He's not going to attune to it right now, but he's going to hang on to it so he has it. So somebody has it on them.
How necessary do you guys think it is that I stay attuned to this chicken foot?
I think
it's really convenient.
Somebody's going to need it.
That's not necessary.
Well, let me ask Brickra, do we still need the chicken foot to move around safely in Baba Yaga's hut now that I'm attuned to the hut itself?
Unless you want to go walk through it on foot. Go door to door.
Okay. We can't teleport without it, but we can walk around fine.
So, if we're going to be using the hut a lot, I think we should probably keep attuned to it.
I mean, you could just keep it in your inventory and reattune to it. We just take an hour rest before we actually go into the hut.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Let's do that. That's what I'm doing with the jumping ring. I figure if I encounter a place I need to jump,
and it doesn't super matter right now because I'm gonna move the shield guardian into the hut, but not be attuned to it because there's no real reason to. So I'm just gonna leave that in a secure place in the hut.
Okay.
Does anyone else want the robe of the void or whatever?
The robe of stars?
Stars, right.
What does that do?
Lets you breathe in. It lets you not need to breathe, and it has stars you can throw.
That's you.
That's what I figured. Okay.
You will be in places where you can't breathe. We know.
All right, I'll just add that to my inventory. Then I'm not attuned to it right now.
So Tarin, you're wearing like 9 cloaks now?
Yep. Most of them are folded up in my backpack.
All right, I'm taking Ring of Jumping off of the party loot. That's in mine now.
How much time do we have? Because I was gonna buy like a +1 staff.
Where are you intending to buy this +1 staff?
I was just gonna look around in Kiska for one.
How long? How long are you willing to spend looking?
How long is it taking us to find the rest of the stuff?
We've been rolling.
There's no rule. It's you tell me how long you look, and then I'm
asking the rest of my party how long it took them to find a similar type of magic item.
It took me, I think, a week to find a +1 sword in Kiska.
Yeah, it's probably a couple weeks.
It didn't actually. You were not able to find one in Kiska. Your +1 rapier formula was given to you by Amina for services rendered, but all of your searching for finding that weapon was futile.
I thought I found something. Was it the bow that I got in Kiska?
Yes, the bow you were able to find with, I forget exactly how long, but a week or so of searching, as being a relatively common weapon.
Okay.
And Khalil found I think it was a formula that was applied to the sword that he has.
You found an enchanter who was able to apply a +1 to your longsword. Yes.
And that took just a day.
A similar amount of time with that. So like a couple weeks probably.
I mean, if we're gonna do that, I wouldn't mind getting +1 of my armor.
Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna be spending some time in Kiska talking to contacts that I have for magic items. I will just add a list.
Yeah,
like I'll look for your thing. Yeah.
Okay, so how long in terms of days?
So probably a couple weeks.
Like in terms of days, 20 days.
14 then.
14 days.
I don't know how long weeks are.
7 days.
You and Baba Yaga.
And in that time, you find neither of the 2 items you're searching for.
Okay. Does anyone object to Zook taking these scrolls from Baba Yaga's hut? Since he's like a scroll monkey.
I mean, if anything, maybe we should use some of this gold to scribe some more scrolls. We did burn a bunch in that fight.
You can do that. Also, I'm taking the Silver Glaive +1 back. In case it wasn't clear last time.
Okay.
You are welcome to it.
So the goal is to enter into the Shadowfell.
Yeah.
And then find your way to the dead city of Damynas.
Yep.
We know where a entry point into Shadowfell is. We know where Damynas is supposed to be.
Yep. Daniel and Fred have already returned from Zrazak by the time you all are done with that. At that point,
do we necessarily want to bring Daniel on this
Yeah, I was going to say
diplomatic mission?
This isn't necessarily a mission for Daniel.
Do you think Daniel would be, maybe we should tell him that we want him to protect the hut?
Yeah, that seems like a better thing for Daniel to do.
Okay. There is a lot of curiosity buzzing around the garrison about the hut. What do you tell the peoples?
It's dangerous and off limits.
So you forbid them from going up there.
Well, we were gonna have people guard it on a rotation from the garrison, but other than that, they were not to enter the Ring of Skulls. It would be very dangerous for them.
Yeah, I have a question. What kind of control do we have over anything in the hut? Like, any at all?
Zook,
like the Ring of Skulls, for instance. Like, can we tell it to not do crazy shit, like kill everyone in our garrison? Or
is the Ring of Skulls even still there?
Yes.
It reappeared when we relanded it and terraformed the side of the mountain.
And no, Zook had very little control over individual aspects of the hut like that. He's able to move it, he's able to monitor it, he's able to move it in between planes, but reaching out and trying to work with any of the other magical constructs, like traps or the dimensional folding or the Ring of Skulls or anything of that nature, has proven so far to be outside his grasp.
Yeah, I can use the item, but I am not a wizard, so I can't do jack about it.
What does Cube think of the hut when he sees it?
He doesn't think it's out of the ordinary.
He's been hanging around us a little too long.
And when you tell him it's off limits, he loses all interest.
Interesting.
Cube has more pressing matters to occupy his time. He's making great leaps and strides in duplicating the magic jam.
Yeah. Yeah.
Captain,
we should probably talk to him about that, by the way, since I think that would probably make a lot more sense to you than it would to me.
Okay.
So traveling out to the Shadow Crossing is supposed
Hold
to
on, I had...
What?
Sorry, I was going to ask, because we also recovered Questrix's spellbook. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the loot right now. Did we get back to him? I didn't know if there was
You did.
any
You
need to run
returned
through
him his spellbook and his broken staff. He relinquished to you the Robe of Useful Objects.
that.
And
That's
he
right.
left for Pastures New. He set off north.
did we ever find Baba Yaga's spellbook?
You did, yes.
We did. Did anyone take the Robe of Useful Objects?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm putting it on the party loot.
What was the Robo useful object?
It was in one of the rooms, but it belongs to Questrix.
Oh.
But he gave it to us, or let us keep it after we returned his spellbook.
Yeah. He considered that fair payment for going back into the hut and retrieving his staff and spellbook.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. I was just bookkeeping a little bit.
Travel to the point where the Shadow Crossing is supposed to be. In any of your backstories, do any of you have any prior contact or knowledge of the Shadowfell?
Nope.
Yeah.
Not
No
here.
way.
Can't imagine
No.
it.
Okay.
Really? Tarin doesn't? Because that seems
No.
right up your alley.
Nah, it's not weird enough. It's like a terminus plane. Who cares? It's like, eh.
I think as far as Zook understands, we're going underground. He thinks we're just going underground.
Does Tarin do anything to correct Zook's figuring in that sense?
So imagine an onion that's underground.
So like a potato?
No, potatoes don't have layers.
Okay.
What about the eyes?
What about the eyes?
Do the hills
Well,
have
there's a lot
eyes?
of things with tentacles that coming out of them underground.
Yeah, but we're not going to the potato. I could totally see the Far Realms. I think a potato might not be the worst analogy because it is somewhat.
Wait, we're going to the
formless.
farm realms? Is that why there's onions?
But no,
No,
it's another
not anymore.
it's another coterminous plane, just like the ethereal. It's not all that interesting.
So we're not going underground.
Not unless your sense of geography you consider different layers of the same interdimensional space to be depths. No.
Orphan's
No.
eyes start to glaze over.
So it's like
No,
the
I'm-
same place, but it's really shadowy.
Exactly. You know how the ethereal plane is the same place, but it's really wormy?
Yes.
Same deal.
Okay. Did you get that, Zook?
Eh.
And you
Kind
go
of.
through the Shadow Crossing and you're attacked by purple worms. You find the
Wait,
place
what?
where the Shadow Crossing is supposed to be. Down here in the mountains, far to the east of Garreton, in the foothills. And it's two gnarled trees that have grown and intertwined together that, unlike the foliage around them, look to be dead. Where everything around here, relatively cold, but green, vibrant, shiny, receives good rainfall, has wildlife. You do find these two trees that reach up out of the ground. They look like gnarled fingers intertwining with each other. The idea being, if you cross through this area, when the moon is at its highest point in the sky, you'll step out into the Shadowfell.
Well, should we make camp?
How far are we from a Oh, I'm sorry. You said the moon's at its highest point, not a full moon.
Right.
Never mind.
Make camp. Didn't we ride the hut here?
No, you guys left your garrison and Daniel to guard the hut back at the inn.
Yeah.
So did we take the hut down here then?
You did
No,
not.
we
Asked and
left it
answered.
back.
No, because it wasn't a long trip.
Let's just make camp.
Is Fred here?
No, you guys didn't say you bring a Fred.
All right. Then, yeah, I'll make up the hut.
So
It's
if you're-
tiny.
Leomund's tiny hut.
Yeah, it was invented by Leomund. It's pretty good.
Hunker down inside. And night falls. The moon rises overhead. It's a cloudy night.
Wait, how cloudy is it? Can we tell when it's exactly overhead?
Yeah.
Are we gonna need to get like a sailor? Oh, we have a sailor.
We did.
There.
No.
When is it? You have to let us know when the moon's exactly overhead so we can go through this.
All right, I'll do that.
I guess you're a sailor.
Orphan is the best sailor in this party at this point.
Is that what you were doing while we were in the hut? You were sailing?
I
Well,
did
she
that for
spent a year
a whole
during her
year. I was
downtime.
a sea captain.
No, yeah, I remember. It's just...
So yeah, the moon reaches the highest point in the sky. The two trees don't look like they're doing anything special. They're still just standing there.
do they look magical?
They
Khalil?
don't.
Flip on detect magic. No.
Nope.
No.
Just
Well,
bizarre, ugly
let's
looking
try it anyway.
dead trees.
Yeah, you said there's an arch, right?
Yeah, their highest branches intertwine with each other like fingers reaching up out of hands.
Tarin will step through it.
Tarin steps through it, and you guys do not see Tarin walk out the other side.
Fantastic, let's do it. We
All right,
all
we'll follow
follow
after.
after him.
Well, I'll follow him.
Arik sighs and follows.
You don't feel any kind of sensation going through this particular archway. It doesn't feel like you stepped from one place to another. It just feels like when you walk through the archway on the other side, it just looks like your surroundings have changed. There doesn't seem to be any points of light in the sky at all. No starlight. There's a moon, but it's very dark. Like a world of you stepped out at midnight into a world of eternal dusk. Things feel lighter here, in the sense of they don't feel quite as tangible as they were at home. The trees don't look like they're rooted as firmly. The rocks don't look like they're sitting as solidly. And you hear calls
shadowy
all around you. Wolves and owls in the night.
That's a good idea, actually. I'll pop up my owl.
Okay.
Got a scout.
And where do you send the owl?
What direction are we supposed to be heading?
Like a northwesterly.
Yeah. Somewhere out here.
Yeah.
I'll send it in that general direction.
Okay. Yeah, in the prime material, there was a ancient ruins in the foothills, and you all had a shadow crossing.
Yeah, what does the geography look like? Because I've made this trip before, or something similar to it. Does geography look similar to it, to the way it did in the prime material?
At first glance, yes.
Okay.
While we're waiting for my owl, we should probably do our best to pay attention to things and make sure that Zook is getting a good look, so that if we need to, we can bring the hut back here.
Yeah.
A good analogy might be looking at a wilderness photo, like from foothills or something up in Alaska, in the day versus at midnight, and noting the differences. Like, it looks like a totally different place, but it's the same place. That's kind of the sensation that you're getting here.
Okay. All right. Well, I can do the best to. Orphan will do her best to lead the party to where she remembers the monks from Zrazak taking her.
Okay. And it's not a pleasant journey. The wildlife that you come across doesn't flee from your approach like it would have coming through wooded areas in and around Garreton. Instead, you are at one point accosted by a pack of wolves that you have to injure and chase off. Very violent. Another point, you come across what looks like a semi-dilapidated cemetery, and as you approach, ghouls come up out of the ground, and you have to chase them off as well. And
Eric, say chase off, you mean leave in smoking piles and
I was
turn.
Trying to be diplomatic about it. I was trying to...
Well, I think the wolves we would chase off. I think the undead, there isn't going to be much left.
We have a cleric here.
I was going to say Arik has a death grip on his holy symbol, I think. Muttering prayers to Osprey as best he can.
And Arik, when you use your holy symbol to destroy these legions of undead, you find your connection to that holy energy weaker in this place. You're still able to turn them, but they don't crumble to dust.
I don't like this place.
Do you feel like you have any connection to Osprey? Is it like the hut?
No, she's here, but it's weaker. It's not a... I don't know.
It's better than the hut.
Yes. It's better than the hut.
Look on the bright side.
Anything that's better than
Arik, throw a religion check.
Why? Why you make me do this? Why you make me do this?
Because it's funny.
It's the only cleric I've ever known that didn't have religion.
15.
Hey!
You're not totally convinced it's because your connection to Osprey is weaker here. It seems more like the undead themselves are stronger.
Oh.
There's something fundamental about this place that makes these undead creatures more powerful and more vicious and more able to stand against your channel divinity.
It's that vampire we want to come chat with.
Also, the necromancer we're trying to kill.
And after a couple days of unpleasant travel, you don't see any signs of civilization until a few hours out. Eldove, looking through your owl's eyes, looking down, you do see the dead city itself. Down in a valley below you, killing time so I can get the image out of Imgur.
Let me pull up the notes that I took on Damynas before
the undead seems more powerful here, almost as if it's shadowy and fell.
It's pretty fell. This place is hella fell.
Fella.
Flumph notes.
You like see how I had to mirror this image over here? I like that. That's my favorite part.
I had to what?
I had to mirror the
image
to get the river on the correct side, so it looks cool, I think. I don't know.
It's mirrored because it's the Shadowfell. It's a horrible mirror version.
What's this eldritch language look across the side here?
I don't recognize it.
If somebody was reading it out loud, Orphan would be able to understand it.
Yeah.
I speak Draconic. So.
Now, you all are approaching from the southeasterly direction. And you first spot the river coming up. And Orphan tells you that there was this dry riverbed around the ruins that she scouted out a couple months prior. So deciding to follow north along the river, you eventually do reach what would be the outer walls of Damynas. So
is this riverbed dry?
It is not. This is a relatively healthy river. Relatively, it would be difficult to cross it without flight or a bridge or some such. It's not just like a lazy brook.
But
when you say healthy river, like it's like a normal river, like it's not like a fucked horrible undead river.
No, it's got clear water. Runs relatively swiftly, very deep in the middle. There are fish, if you were of a mind to eat the fish. But no, it's not like a river of bile that flows through the first layer of Avernus.
It's not a horrible thing. Okay.
Now, to the question of are there undead in it, statistically probably yes. But
are the fish undead?
Cast your net out one day, making camp, draw it back in, and it's empty because Eldove doesn't know how to fucking fish.
We have a net fishing expert with us.
Oh, well, Arik cast the net out, and yes, he drags in. No, they're just. What kind of fish would live in a river like this? I don't know anything about fish, but you catch some.
Salmon,
trout and salmon, I think.
Yeah, you catch a couple of trout. You're able to descale them, debone them. They taste fine to you. You don't get terrible Shadowfell food poisoning.
Eldove looks at his empty net. He's like, I don't understand it. How hard can net fishing be? You just put the net out.
All right, so I did take notes when you described the place. Let's see if I can get this right. Let me guess this. Okay, so number 4, I'm thinking that's the Tomb District.
Yes.
Number 5, the Temple District.
No. Number 5 is the Central Tower.
3 looks like it has a temple in it.
Yeah, 3 is the Temple District. 2 is the Housing District, and then 1 is the River District, which you were told would be as unless you have it in your notes. What was I about to say?
That it's the only place that the river is the public area where the only place where visitors are permitted.
Right, and there is when Eldove sends out his owl to scout. You do note this road coming up from back here. Right there. This road does exist, going off to the east, and you know eventually it would, if you were to follow it, it would connect with the mountains off in the east, and possibly the Underdark. But there's no gates here.
Which one was 2 and 1 again? Sorry.
2 is housing, 1 is the river district.
Yeah, the only 3 gates into town are coming across these 3 bridges.
Which side of the river are we approaching from?
You are approaching from this arrow that I drew down here.
Okay, so we got to cross the river.
You all came up on the river and decided to follow it north because you knew that the city would be laying along the river.
Is this wall blocking any passage along the city?
Yeah,
would we have to cross the river in order to cross again to get back in?
Indeed.
All right.
I'm assuming that would not be difficult for you.
No.
Most of us can fly.
Or if you can run across water.
Yeah, there you go.
Arik crosses his arm and pouts a
Eldove
little bit.
can't stand on Orphan's shoulders.
If only I was level 17.
Carry me, Orphan. I don't carry anything helpful. I don't have gross spell components like that Khalil.
So yeah, crossing whichever side of the river you want to be on is trivial. What you've noticed, though, in your travels is there's no daylight in this place.
Is there a sun?
There's not. There just seems to be an ambient, dusky glow in the sky.
That's terrible.
But there are no stars to navigate by. The moon rises each night. It looks larger and more foreboding than the moon you're used to at home. But there's no daylight. There's no sunrise or sunset. You do have some manner of light during the day, but no more than you'd have at like very late afternoon going into dusk, is the brightest it gets during the day.
This place is really bumming Eldove out because there's no light to sparkle off of him.
That's true. And you arrive at the bridges going into the dead city Damynas.
Captain, I don't like this place.
Before we go
Either.
in, what's our plan here? I don't think we can take this city.
You just have to try and find the blacksmith and talk to him.
What if he's not in the visitor district? How do we get sponsorship to go anywhere else in the city?
If only you had a really good rogue.
All right, enough planning. Let's go.
I'm out. The vampire that we're supposed to be seeking is his residence is in the river district.
Oh, well, that solves that then, I suppose.
So should we go to his house, or should we go to his smithy?
Well, the smithy is a different guy than the vampire.
Oh, it's a different person? Who's the smith?
Vampire? Yeah, the smith is the one who's the rib, and he's working for the vampire.
Alright.
So we don't really care about the vampire.
The smith and enchanter.
Well, he's working for the vampire. Oh, yeah, right, but we don't care.
Right.
And the vampire knows, I remember, right?
Not sure.
No idea.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you would have learned what the vampire knows at all.
I thought we learned that the vampire didn't care that he was working for both. Oh well.
I'm not sure we should be the ones to inform the vampire.
Yeah.
So Orphan immediately marches up to the vampire and says, "Hey, I learned something about your smithy." Is that the plan?
No, that's not the plan.
Okay.
Do we want to come up with some sort of pretense to talk to the guy and then get him away from someplace nice and quiet we can talk for real?
No.
Okay.
I've learned my lesson about being tricky for no reason. Let's just go and talk to him.
Okay.
So, Eldove,
Agreed.
where do you center your earthquake spell?
I'm thinking, right?
Do we need to get those templates out?
I know Earthquake too. Eldove and Arik can team up and create a massive earthquake.
I don't know if I even do know Earthquake anymore. Yeah, I don't know Earthquake at the moment.
Crossing the bridge
I can't Earthquake.
into Damynas, the river district doesn't look that much different than any bustling city you've been to. The population is mostly human. There are a smattering of demi-humans here and there. A larger percentage of dwarves, if there's a larger percentage of anything, because of the proximity to the mountain and the Underdark. You do see the most common form of elves you see in Damynas are drow. But they don't seem to be anything special walking through the streets. You also see a higher percentage of Tieflings that you're used to seeing in the cities where you came from. The only thing that seems out of place, there are shops that are open, there are various, there are inns, taverns, bars at different levels of quality and commodity. What really strikes you as being out of place, though, is how depopulated it is. It's got the size and scale of a bustling city, but it has maybe 1/10 of the population you would expect. It does seem that there are a lot of travelers in Damynas. It seems like this road along this river is used frequently by people going back and forth to goodness knows where, and so Damynas does have a thriving trade and barter situation happening. But it strikes all of you as a little off-putting at just how few people are here. You would expect 10 times as many people in a city this big.
Should we get a room, or are we just going to go right to the...
Let's go right there. We can get a room later if we need to. Personally, I would rather spend as little time here as we need to.
Okay.
I'm with Eldove on this.
So the goal is to find the forge.
Yeah.
And how do you set about doing that?
You could ask someone.
We can just ask around.
Yeah, there's only 10% of the normal population here. That can only support so many forges.
Right. Now, one other thing you've noticed is that this inner wall, going around inside the city, is solid anywhere you look. There do not seem to be any overt gates or paths leading to the other areas of the city from here.
How tall is it?
Not quite as tall as the outer wall. The outer wall, we'll say, is like 20 feet. This inner wall, maybe 14 feet.
Is it magical?
It is not.
Detect magic? Okay.
No, it's just this. Looks like a very ancient stone wall, but it's been kept in good repair.
Is there any magical
outsiders
effect
out.
above the top of it? Like a force slit or anything?
Not that you can see or detect, no.
Okay.
You also do not see any semblance of a town guard. There's nobody walking or manning the walls. There doesn't seem to be any kind of standard, like you would see in Kiska with the wall walkers, where they all wear the same kind of sigil to identify them as such. There doesn't seem to be anything like that.
Do I see anything walking around the buildings or looking at the people, identifying any guild membership or guild affiliation around here?
Looking specifically for the Guild of Shadows?
Yeah.
Or the larger organization that the Guild of Shadows is part of.
Make a perception check. Make it at disadvantage. You know what? Scratch that. Just make a regular perception check. No disadvantage. I'll do this the other way.
Can I take that 17 since I just rolled at disadvantage?
You can take the 17.
Okay, so that becomes pretty high. Actually. That becomes 17, 25. That's maxed.
Maxed out. Give me one.
Or, I'm sorry,
Hilarious.
20, 29. 29.
I gotta go to Fantasy Name Generator now.
Yes.
So,
I love it when I do shit like this.
who wants to actually be doing the talking?
Well, it looks like Zook just volunteered since he's looking for his.
Alright, I'll cast Foresight on Zook.
Okay.
Where do you do this?
Is this, are we do... I would prefer to have done it before we came into the city, but I don't know that we actually thought of it until now, out of character.
Well, you're already standing in the city. You can go back across the bridge out into the woods and do it.
We could get an inn and go to our room.
You can secure lodging and do it there.
Yeah. Do it.
Sure.
But
I have a question.
Yeah.
I was making Brick Road make up names.
Have we noticed any spellcasting as of yet? Like, have we seen any mages or whatever?
You mean people dressed in, like, pointy purple hats with stars
I
on
mean,
them?
has Destil noticed any spellcasting going on?
No. No, there's not people overtly casting spells in the streets. But you wouldn't see that in Kiska or Dunvoss either.
Yeah, but
The main
This is
thing
a
is
horrible
it's a
shadow
minute-long
city.
spell, so...
Zook,
Well, let's find some lodgings and.
Hold up.
you do notice, because you spend most of the day while everybody else is finding a place to lodge or asking around for the forge, you're spending most of your time actively looking for an identifying mark of the unnamed guild. And you think you spot one
Mm-hmm.
on a drow woman. It looks like she has a tattoo on her neck underneath her flowing white hair. She has this dark gray skin, and you think you can make out in gray ink the sigil that you've come to identify with as the unnamed guild.
Do I see her? Is she just walking on the street, or is she like manning a shop or something?
No, she was talking to one of the traders in the street, bartering for supplies.
If I watch her for a moment, does she walk off somewhere alone? I don't want to like just walk up to her while she's bartering.
Alright, you try to tailor?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll tailor for a block. I mean, I'm not like trying to like. Yeah.
Are you gonna tell the rest of us what's up?
No, Zook just sneaks off.
All right.
I don't think most of us can see you when you do that.
I know.
Hang on 1 second. Once I notice that Zook has gone off on his own.
I
You
think
notice
you're the
that
only
Zook has
person
gone
who
off on his
would.
own?
Well, eventually we'll notice he's not there,
yeah.
but we're not going to see him leave.
Fair enough.
Well, I mean, once I notice he's gone, I can cycle to Zook Vision and at least see what he's seeing.
So
yeah,
we'll give you a few minutes, and then we'll look at you.
Fair enough.
So yeah, you begin tailing her, and it looks like she's heading away from the group. So you guys are going to secure lodgings. What kind of lodgings are you looking for?
Probably average. There's no reason to get too ostentatious.
Okay. Now, one option you have that I want to make you aware of that might not be an option in Kiska is because there is very little population, there are a lot of abandoned buildings.
So we could just squat.
You could squat.
You could squat.
Is there any reason to do that, though? Let's just find a place to stay.
I mean, I could just throw up a demi-plane, too.
Yeah. Well, the reason
You and your demi-plane.
the reason to stay somewhere as opposed to squat is the traffic that an establishment would get.
Yeah.
Usually is useful to us in some way.
We have got.
Have we seen other people squatting?
How would we know?
Do you go out your way to look?
yeah,
how would we
You start
know?
poking your head into...
Is that your house?
Can I see the
Does anyone
TV,
know?
sir?
I guess I was just asking, like, if we see people, like if you're in, like, a city, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
you see someone staying in a certain place, you know they're not supposed to be there.
How? What are the telltale signs you're looking for?
Like, people going into, like, boarded up, like, crack house level.
You don't see any buildings that are that dilapidated. You don't see any buildings that seem to be in disrepair. It looks like the structures, at least in this area of the city, are relatively well kept. Many
that's
of them
exactly
stand
what I was
empty or
asking.
abandoned, but there's really no way to tell. You see people going in and out of buildings without markings and whatnot all day, but it's difficult to tell who's squatting and who's not.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was asking, is if these buildings are well maintained and kept, chances are pretty good that they'll know if we just start squatting there, and there's no real reason to do that.
So just asking around town a little bit, it's relatively easy to pick out the major landmarks. You have Grigory's Manor, which is here.
Oh. Good.
You have his forge, you learn, is here by the northern wall. And your lodging can be basically anywhere on this map that you want. It looks like, in as much as there is classism in Damynas, it looks like the more affluent sections of town are to the north, nearer to the manor and the forge. So it's a question of what sort of quality you're looking for in a lodging.
Like I said, no reason to get too ostentatious. We could look for something moderately,
Let's find something that's near where we're going.
or that. Could do that. Fine, Nodal.
Whee!
Nodal, I'm
There's always a reason to be too ostentatious.
I'm going to promote you. Go ahead and mark where you'd like to be staying.
I think we should get somewhere just right on the corner here.
In there? Okay. This section of town here, this main thoroughfare coming in from this bridge, is the busiest part of town by far. A lot of shops in this area, various easy enough to find a tavern or an inn. The one on the corner where Nodal has written is one of the ritzier taverns in town. Despite what your expectations were coming to Damynas, like I said, the place doesn't look run down at all. It looks relatively normal, just unsettlingly low populated. Across the street from your tavern, you have the gated manor of who you've learned to be the lord of the first district, the river district, Grigory, who you know is a vampire, but he's never introduced to you as such. The manor is dark. There are no lights. The gates, the walls around the manor, 10-foot high fences with foliage around them, shrubberies and whatnot. The main gates, black iron, closed, locked, chained. No lights at all up in the manor itself.
I don't think we're even that interested in this manor.
Okay.
Let's look up the forge.
So everybody place yourself where you're going to be going. Some of you are going to go to the forge, some of you are going to go secure lodgings.
I don't know where Zook's at right now.
Just put Zook down in the south somewhere, because I said she was going the opposite direction.
Okay, fair enough.
Did you already make your stealth roll?
I did not. You did not ask me for a stealth roll.
Okay,
but
yeah.
I will make one.
Make a stealth roll. Remember, you've got advantage because you got foresight.
Oh, that's right. You gave me foresight.
I didn't give it to
Khalil,
you.
are you dealing with getting us a room?
Sure.
All right, then I'll head with the others to the forge.
Khalil,
Yeah.
you find a nice-looking tavern called the Preda House.
The Preda House.
The proprietor of the establishment, you've come to learn, is Gogu Preda. An old man who's lived in Damynas for a long time. His family has roots here, which strikes you as odd because it's difficult for you to imagine how anybody could have roots here. But you go in, and it's a relatively lively place. It looks like a lot of travelers kick up their feet here.
I'll approach the bar and say, I need lodgings for myself plus 5 others.
Well, Gogu himself is out in the room, tending to his patrons when you walk in. And when word gets around that you're looking for lodgings, he approaches you. And so you ask for how many rooms?
Lodging for myself plus 5 others. Individual rooms are not necessary.
Ooh, this is the first time I get to open up a calc.exe in Windows 10. I'm excited.
Oh, the Windows 10 calculator is so awful.
Oh my god, you know what?
Awful? How do you make a bad calculator?
I press the Windows key and run, and I don't get a run. I don't get a run dialogue.
Yeah, looks like it works fine to me.
Yeah, it works for me.
It's got nice big buttons because it's supposed to be used with a touch screen, but I don't have a touch screen. So you're asking for 6 rooms? You said lodging for yourself and
3
5
rooms.
others? You want 3 rooms?
3 rooms. Yes.
Okay. Tells you that's 15 silver pieces a day. I almost said silver points because I got the Gato song stuck in my head. 15 pieces of silver.
Fine.
That does not include meals. That is a daily rate. He doesn't seem unfriendly when he's talking to you. He's got this big boisterous mustache, big beer belly. He doesn't seem like a joyless man, but he's very curt, direct, and upfront with his pricing.
Mm-hmm. The fair price. My companions should be back anytime now, but I'll go ahead and pay for them now.
Okay.
I will.
And after the silver exchanges hands, he leads you over to the bar area. And he's got this big box along the back wall with many, many drawers in it. And each drawer has a symbol written on it. What languages does Khalil know? Just Common and Elven.
Not many. Yep.
So yeah, you don't understand what the symbols mean. But he opens up 3 of the boxes that are nowhere near each other on this wall. And from each one he pulls out, you hear like a very subtle click, 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 click sound as a piece of ticker tape comes spitting out of each of these 3 drawers he's opened. He rips them off, walks back and hands it to you, and he explains that they're combinations.
Okay.
He explains that you'll find the rooms. He points over to a spiral staircase leading out one corner of the room, going down underground. He tells you where to find the rooms in the levels below. He tells you that those combinations will work until tomorrow morning.
Alright. Thank you very much. Then at this point I'll pocket the combinations and take up a table in the common room for my companions to get back.
Hey, what are you doing? Anything in particular in the common room, or are you just going to sit and look?
I'm gonna kind of get the tenor of the room and see just who's case the place out and see what kind of clientele they're serving here, basically.
A lot of weary travelers. It's not ruckus like you're accustomed to at inns in Kiska or whatnot. just road weary would be the word I would use for the people here. Unlike the city outside, which looks depopulated, it does look like this place does a fairly good business. Unless you're looking to start trouble, nobody comes over to approach you.
That's fine by me.
The other 4 of you go up to the forge. And asking in town, some of the residents are able to kind of explain that this forge was massive in times immemorial, but it laid cold for many, many years. Lord Grigore had no use for it until very recently one of the fires inside lit up again. When you arrive at the forge, best way to describe it is a big, dark stone room. You go in, it's very cold. There doesn't seem to be any heat inside. Door was standing open when you approached. I don't actually have a map for the forge, so you're going to have to imagine this in your own head. But yeah, it looks massive. It looks like a team of smiths could work in this place to forge, churn out a lot of weapons. It looks like if this place was properly manned and staffed, you could churn out armaments for a standing army in a relatively short amount of time. But right now it lays dark.
And it's cold in here.
And it's cold, so it hasn't been worked in recently.
Yeah.
But you've been told in town that somebody has been working here lately.
But we don't see them.
No, not standing at the doorway, you don't.
I'll go inside. Hello?
Yeah, Tarin will too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is anybody here?
Do you call out, or are you just asking?
Yeah, I'm calling out.
Yeah. Arik does too.
Calling
He
out?
also knocks on the door, to be polite.
So the 3 of you walk in, and Arik stands behind and knocks on the door.
Pretty much, yeah.
Orphan. You call out, and you hear the sound of your voice echo throughout the room for a few moments. And a couple seconds later, Arik, who's rapping kind of nervously on the door of the force swings shut, closing you out. The other 3 of you standing inside the forge hear the door swing shut and slam.
Well, that was right rude.
Who can anybody not see inside the forge?
No, I think we've all got dark vision in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, you closed out our least bullshit member.
Pretty sure even Arik can see in the dark at this point.
Yeah, I've got a ring. I got the ring.
He's got his ring.
He does.
Bang.
God damn it.
Look, no one's magical vision is more bullshit than Tarin's, though. Let's just be real here.
It's true. And the darkness in this room is not magical. It's just an absence of light. So Tarin has no advantage here the others don't have. And after
Bullshit
a few
is its
moments
own advantage.
waiting... I forgot what race this guy was.
Didn't you say he was dwarven?
Say Dwergar.
No, Omte's not a dwarf. Must have just been human, because I don't have anything notated here. Alright. Orphan.
Got blue dragon blood.
You hear a
according to my
response from one of the corners of the forge. Just saying, can't you see we're closed? It's in a language that you understand, but you can't pinpoint what language he's speaking in. And I don't think Tarin... I'm double checking. I don't think Tarin or Eldove speak it. So no, the response comes back. Can't you see we're closed? But he's speaking a language that nobody else in the room gets.
I'll call back. My apologies. The door was open.
And at that, the door opens again. Arik, suddenly you're now looking back in the dark forge.
Arik collects himself and strides on in.
And the voice responds, well, it's certainly open now.
Are you Omte?
Who's asking?
And at this point, I'll translate for the others. I'll tell them what's
I have a quick
going on.
question out of character. Can we understand Orphan when she talks?
Yes, because she's not speaking that language. Orphan's speaking Common, and the other person can understand her.
Right. If Orphan was speaking this particular language, you would not be able to understand her. In fact, I don't think Orphan can speak this language. It's just when she speaks, others can understand it.
Okay, so we can understand Orphan. So we get the gist of what's going on.
Is anybody carrying a light source?
Not lit now.
No.
It's... Man, I was about to, though, until the door opened. Good thing that door opened.
Eldove, roll an insight check. At advantage.
Mm-hmm. Roll them in the city. I feel lucky in the city. 16.
You felt the power of Daniel's blood when you first met him. Just sensed it in each other. There's something in this room that feels similar but more powerful.
Okay.
But that's the last thing that happened, was the door opened. Orphan asked, are you Omte? But there was no response.
And I'll nudge Tarin, and once he opens up the mind link, I'll let him know that there's something with the power of a dragon in here.
Tarin will nod. It's not really unexpected.
I'll just say again. We came seeking Omte Amanet.
And what will you do with him when you find him?
We have something to discuss regarding if.
This awkward silence hangs in the air for a couple of 30 or 40 seconds. Supposing I could set up a meeting, what is it worth to you?
And I'll translate that back for Tarin.
I mean, does he want money?
Meeting with who?
Meeting with Omte, I assume.
How do we know that this guy isn't Omte?
Well, I suspect that he is, but the point is he's not going to meet with us openly or have a discussion unless we say what it's worth to us.
$100 gold?
And I'll make that offer. 100 gold, says my captain.
Omte finds himself indisposed at the moment.
I'll relay that. I don't think that he's impressed with our offer, Captain.
As his responses are coming, though, you hear them coming from different areas in the room. He started out in one corner, and now it's moved to a different corner.
I was going to ask where the sound was coming from, because
How
Arik
big
was
is
going
this
to turn
room?
his head.
I don't have the actual dimensions, but whereas you were in, like, the smithery at Zrazak was big enough for one smith, it looks like an entire team of smiths could work in here comfortably. There are enough forges and anvils and tools strewn about that if you were to man this place properly, you could make armament for a decent-sized army in a reasonable amount of time. This is a very large
But it's not
force.
like outrageously sized. Like a good light source would light up the whole place.
You'd be casting dim shadows into the farthest reaches of it. because you guys are still standing pretty close back to the door. But yeah, you could probably get a good sense of where all the light was going.
Had about enough of talking to the shadows. I don't know about you guys. I say Arik makes a light.
Arik is turning his head wherever the sound is coming from. Huh? It looks a little bit like a meerkat.
Well,
that's how I always pictured Arik.
Ask him how much would be a suitable bribe, and maybe clean that up a little bit, Orphan.
All right. My captain asks if you have a counter offer.
Depends on the work to be done. I would say 500 would be fair as an opener.
Okay.
Eldove, do you strike a light?
I don't have a light to strike. I was waiting for Arik to do it magically.
Oh, okay.
Did you ask Arik?
That was what I said. I'm getting a little sick of talking to the shadows.
Okay.
How about you, Arik?
Arik shrugs and casts the light cantrip on his glaive.
And it is counterspelled. You attempt to light up your glaive like you've done many times, but you feel your holy energy just disperse into the air. And you feel the sensation of having your spell turned away that you are very familiar with at this point.
I look at Eldove and shrug.
And the response is, let's have the priest step outside.
All right. And so Orphan will say, he needs you to leave, Arik. Captain, he wants more money than that, and I think he's under the impression we want to commission something from him.
Arik, what is your immediate response to that?
Well, does he understand it?
Orphan just translated it.
Yeah, Orphan just translated it. I look at the captain and say, if this will help make things go smoother, then I will leave.
Tarin nods. And quick mind, stay within shouting distance.
And as Arik turns to leave, the voice comes from a different part of the room. The woman too.
I'll say out loud, if that's what you wish, but it may hamper communication between the two of us. I'm having to translate for my captain.
This time you get a response in Elven, which I believe both Tarin and Eldove speak. Yes. But it's very heavily accented Elven. Clearly not his first language. And the response in Elven is, don't worry, I can be more accommodating.
And Orphan nods and bows and steps outside with Arik.
Where does Orphan and Arik go?
They're waiting outside. Well, Eric's waiting outside anyway. Are there any windows or anything to peer through?
There would be ventilation in the top of the building, I imagine.
But nothing to be able to potentially see into.
Arik certainly wouldn't be able to see into it because it's dark inside.
Sure,
but no, there's no outward-facing windows, not at street level.
That wouldn't necessarily stop Arik. He would just still do it.
Does Orphan know where Khalil took up?
Yes. Yeah, you know where Khalil is.
She's gonna go back. Yeah, go back there then.
Yeah, Khalil and Eldove made a point to select it in a location where they can be right down the road from both the Forge and Grigori's Manor.
I'll see Orphan come in and motion for her to come over to the table.
I'll sit down. Say, Khalil, it occurs to me, since we're doing business with one of the ribs, it might help our case if you would be there as well, since this is if business.
All right. I don't know what I'll be able to do, but fair enough. Hold pull out the combinations.
Okay.
And hand them to Orphan. Got 3 rooms downstairs.
Orphan takers. And Eric's, I guess.
Yeah, Arik remained outside as per Captain's orders.
Okay. After Arik and Orphan leaves, the door closes. Doesn't slam this time. Closes.
Then I'll be making my way up the street once I pass it off to Orphan.
Eldove and Tarin, there is a shuffling sound coming towards you. Looking in that direction, you see this very desiccated-looking zombie with a club foot that is dragging behind him, stepping towards you. And you see tied around its neck is an open sack. And the zombie approaches you, and the voice comes from the back of the room again. Instructing you to make payment.
Eldove?
What are you looking at me for?
Didn't you take gold out of the hut? You spent months getting through the treasure room.
True,
Neither of you have any gold.
I have some. I mean,
I have some. I don't. We haven't. Like I said, I thought these guys spent months in the treasure room getting us access to.
I mean, I probably did.
Eldove
I just didn't.
83 platinum pieces on him right now.
Okay, that's 500.
Yeah.
Of course he does.
That's my personal money. But yeah, I'll. I don't know. I'm not in the habit of paying for things before I get them.
And you say that out loud?
I say that out loud.
Then Omte finds himself indisposed.
They're just gonna look at him and shrug. Quick mind link. I mean, if it offends you that much, we can just kill him and take our money back. It might come down to that anyway.
I just don't much like this situation, but the gold is pretty much meaningless at the moment, so I'll just toss a purse of 50 platinum into the center of the room.
Well, I mean, the zombie's standing there with this sack tied around his neck by a noose.
Oh, I must have cut out for a second. I missed the zombie thing.
No, the zombie with a club foot walked up. He's got a sack tied around his neck, and the instruction was to make payment.
I'm not touching the fucking zombie. I'll mage hand my 50 platinum into that bag. Alright, let me,
Eldove's passive perception is kind of a butt, and Tarin's passive perception is more of a butt, so neither of you notice anything. Okay. Khalil. Coming up the road, you see Arik kind of pacing, anxiously outside the door to the forge, which is closed.
I'll wave to Arik, and then I'll put my hand up to my temple and cycle to Terran vision.
Cycle to Terran vision, and it's dark inside.
See through magical darkness.
And you see Eldove very carefully, mage handing several coins at a time out of his pouch into the sack hanging by the zombie's neck.
I can put a sack into a sack.
I've heard that about you.
I say over the mind link
Good old
back
sack
to
into a
Tarin.
sack, Eldove.
I say over the mind link back to Tarin. Khalil is here.
Can't.
Yeah, I don't think I have line of sight.
Yeah, you don't have line of sight right now.
Oh, all right. Then Arik raps on the door and shouts, I think Khalil wants in.
What's the response inside when you hear the rapping on the door? And Arik shouts from outside, I think Khalil wants in.
Tarin will ask in Elven, we have another associate waiting outside.
Again, awkward silence hangs in the air for a few moments. And the response says, Omte would like to deal with the two of you first. And the zombie starts dragging his club foot back off into the darkness. Then you see a glow of light in one of the far corners. You see a shadowy figure stoking the fire in one of the ovens in the far back corner of the forge. As the fire gets hotter, the glow gets stronger.
Arik looks at Khalil and shrugs.
Oh, I'll be explaining to him. I'll be describing to him what's happening inside.
Sure.
But of course, I can only explain sight. I can't explain any hearing or anything like that, or anything that isn't audible outside.
When we roll initiative, you'll probably hear that.
Okay.
Dice falling from the heaven.
So what is Eldove and Tarin's next move?
Do they motion for us to go towards
Yeah,
the light or
Eldove's
anything?
head's
or?
over there.
Eldove just walks over?
Yeah.
Getting
Trying
closer.
to follow.
Eldove is having enough footsies in this conversation. He's not going to make more.
What you notice first, closing the distance, is the smell of this man. Like, you know that fresh spring, like, hobo smell?
Eldove has never been near a hobo.
Very close to that.
Been near murder hobos.
But yeah, this very disheveled looking man, his clothes look... At one point, they may have belonged to nobility, somewhere in Romneus. Definitely not Kiska. But he's got this unkempt, tangled hair. And as you're approaching, as he's stoking the fire with his bellows, two things that jump out to you immediately, Eldove, is that he has large, dark veins coming up out of the collar of his shirt, running up around the back of his neck into this tangle of hair. And you see areas of his face and neck that are not covered with clothing have fine blue scales, similar to your own, but with a different coloration.
Alright.
When you approach, the man gives no notice that you come near him. He is tending to the fire in the forge. And you are now standing within smelling distance of him. And it's your move. He's not going to lob the first shot. I'm going to make you attack him.
Eldove's waiting for Tarin to go, but he's got very short attention span.
I'll drop the hunger, and then you can disintegrate. That usually works.